All right, good afternoon, students. So, in our last in-house class, we were looking at our rise and fall method of booking. We're going to continue in that line of sight, and in this particular example, we're going to be looking at a rise and fall method, considering an intermediate sight reading. Okay, so our first setup would have been anywhere between our benchmark 61 and benchmark 62. So we're heading in this direction. Good. And just to mention that the elevation at benchmark 61 would have been 257.61 meters. So first instrument setup, and then our staff would have been placed there. So that first reading that would have taken would have been a backside reading to that first mark. In this case, it's a point of known elevation referred to as a benchmark, right? So that point of known elevation reading could have been 4.72 for argument's sake. So after we have taken that first reading, which we may record in our field book as a backside reading, that would now become 4.72. Now, as we go along in the direction towards benchmark 62, then there are features you can see here along our leveling circuit that we'll need to take elevations towards. So a second reading in this case, which would have our start position, let's say at this first corner of the house here. So let us just identify that as reading number 1. Our second reading here, instrument turn in that direction. Let's say it may be giving us a reading of 4.42. Then that now would become an intermediate sight reading, and we would record it in our field book 4.42. Now you'll notice that we did not place our intermediate sight reading in line with the back sight reading, right? It's diagonal to it. And we'll continue in that particular format for any other intermediate sight reading prior to our next foresight reading. So our third reading could be, let's say, to the next corner of the house, which is a third reading there. Instrument is still at the same point, and this particular reading could be 4.30. Now then, in our field book, below our previous intermediate sight reading, we would record 4.30. Now then, if there are no further readings to be taken at this point in time, then we would close off our readings at that particular instrument setup by placing the staff here now. And this now would have been our last reading, reading number 4 here. This may be a reading of, let's say, 2.01. So that's the last reading at that particular setup. Now, because it's the last reading, now that becomes a foresight reading. And now that is placed diagonal to that previous intermediate sight reading that we would have had, in this case being 2.01. So that's a typical example of how a intermediate sight reading could be observed. Now, once we are complete with here, then our level would be moved and then placed between our fourth staff position and our benchmark where we're heading towards, which is benchmark 62. So at this second setup, the first reading here would have been again a backside reading at this same spot. So we had a foresight reading before, now we'll have a backside reading. So this point now becomes a turning point. Okay? So let's say this particular backside reading is 5.11, which is our fifth reading. Then we would record it in our backside column in line with our foresight or previous foresight reading, which is 5.11. Now then, we'll notice that we have some trees growing along the side of the house here. These features could also be referred to as intermediate site readings. So a reading could be taken to this tree here with the staff held at the root, to this point here, and this point in that particular order. So for staff position number 6, then our reading could have been 4.66. So in our field book, it will be recorded 4.66. Let's say our staff reading at position number 7 is 3.98. We will do likewise and record 3.98. Now for final tree here would have been our last intermediate site reading, which is staff position number 8, which could have been 1.20. We would place our intermediate site reading 1.20. Then after we have completed all of that, then our staff may be placed at benchmark 62 at our final position. That would have been position number 9. So at that particular reading, which is our last